I think it's important to know where you stand as an integrator in the world of security, and to be able to communicate that to your client, have a discussion with your client about whether they want or need a security system that will meet their insurance requirements, for instance, or whether they'd be actually much happier with something that would just send them alerts and do things from the KNX system. There's so many things that can be done there. It's a discussion that should be had to make sure that you're providing the right solution for your client, and not taking responsibility for things that you don't want to take responsibility for as an integrator.
Hello again and welcome to the next episode of Talking Smart Homes. I'm Satya and today I'll be talking with Nick Lank, the One Button Guy, the direction of Function Controls Limited and My Simple Home, two smart home companies in Edinburgh. Hi Nick, and thanks for joining us, and for starters maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit.
Hi Satya, yes, thank you. Thanks very much for the opportunity to come and chat with you this morning. So my name's Nick. I'm Director of Function Control, a smart home company based in Edinburgh. I'm called the One Button Guy by a lot of people. Reason being, we're known for putting a button in for our customers at the front door normally, a button they can press that will switch off all the lights in the house with one press of a button, or that might be lights off, close blinds, switch heating off, whatever the client might like. But yeah, so I've ended up being named the One Button Guy.
And then when you do a long press, it's a welcome scene at the same button.
Yes, we can do that as well. Yeah. That's advanced.
Okay, thanks for the introduction. And now before we start, I just have a little disclaimer, and I'm just going to read that. Because, we've been talking with many integrators Europe-wide, and we see that security is a very sensitive topic, actually, with a lot of different, often strong opinions. And with that in mind, we just want to stress in the beginning that we know, and that our viewers should know as well, that the only proper security system is a professional security system, not connected to the building automation and installed by a security company. But people buying KNX in various markets in Europe have very varying security requirements, and not all of them need a connection to the intervention call center and having an insurance policy. And in this episode, we will try to break down what options are currently possible on the market and what are their pros and cons. And but remember, in the end, it's on the homeowner and the integrator to decide what level of security is appropriate in your projects. And after this episode, let's have a great discussion in the comments below. Okay, so let's move on to the first question. I personally believe that security and safety is one of the basic areas in smart home. It's actually one of the reasons why a lot of people even start thinking and decide to buy a smart home in the end. But on the other hand, there's also a lot of experts saying like that security systems should be completely separate from home automation systems. So Nick, what's your opinion on that topic? Security system within the KNX environment or not?
My take on this is not the best answer, but I would say both. I would keep the security system separate for the reasons of insurance, and have a security system installed by a security specialist that then meets the requirements and the criteria for your building insurance, etc. That can then be enhanced by added functionality from the KNX system, because you have so many sensors throughout the building that can be used to either carry out automations in response when the house is empty, bring on lights, things like that, or send notifications to the homeowner when he's away from home, aside from the security system almost enhancing what the security system's doing already without actually having to interfere with that.
Yeah, so basically there's a lot of cool features in KNX that actually improve the operation of this professional security system. Thanks for this answer. And next question is regarding in your work, in your projects, what percentage of homes in which you install KNX have an alarm, a security system, and how often is it integrated with the smart home system?
The large majority, maybe 80–90% of the properties will have some kind of installed security system separate from the KNX system. So typically what happens is the security company will install an entirely separate security system that meets the correct criteria, and then we use the KNX system to essentially listen to the security system. And then that is a sort of an integration, but we're not interfering with the alarm system. The alarm system is just telling us things, and then the house can respond accordingly depending on what the alarm system is doing.
Yeah, but basically, vast majority of your products have such a configuration, right?
Yes.
And what alarm system functionality do you usually connect to KNX? So regarding which functions do you report to the user and notify the user and so on?
Yes, so what we will typically do is take a response from the alarm system. So the KNX system knows the house is the alarm is armed or not armed. So arm and disarm, and then the trigger. So if the alarm is going off, we know that as well, or the KNX system knows that as well. We can then use those signals to know whether the house is occupied or not. You know, the arm or disarm the house. If the alarm is armed, then the house is not going to be occupied. We can even take a signal, so a partial set. So you know, sometimes the upstairs is unset when people are sleeping. These are all signals that we can use so that the KNX system knows whether the house is occupied, part occupied, empty, and then that can be used to run smart scenarios. That might be the trigger to bring on the simulation occupancy, so that lights come on and off and blinds open and close if the house is empty. So it looks like somebody's at home. If the alarm goes off, then that's when we would send push notifications or emails out to the owner to let them know that something's going on.
Okay, I get it. Just maybe now we're talking mostly about like the anti-burglary protection, and I was thinking like, what about you know, like fire protection or water protection? Is that connected to KNX as well?
Yes. So if there's a fire detection system in the property, normally in the UK, most houses will just have a domestic smoke detection system. You know, smoke detectors in each space, a heat detector in the kitchen, and it's normally easy enough to get a relay output from that smoke detector system to tell the KNX system that the smoke detectors are going off. You can also get proper KNX integrated smoke detectors where you can actually get responses to say, you know, there's a fault with the smoke detector, or it's this particular smoke detector in this particular room that's going off, and we can send push notifications from that out to the homeowner, so that if the smoke detectors are going off and they're not at home, they can be aware of that as well. And similar with sprinkler systems, again, we just take a relay output from the sprinkler system to let us know if something's going on. If the system is triggered, then the KNX system knows, and then we can do whatever we want with that then, whether it be push notification, email, the house to actually respond in some way itself, any of those things.
Okay, thanks. Actually, you've already touched on that in your previous answer. Basically, there are a lot of, or some, security features which can be enabled without even installing any dedicated equipment. Like you mentioned before, the simulation presence, for example. So, you know, people are not home, but lights are turning on and off and so on. Anything beside that? And do you enable this in all of your projects?
Yes, the occupancy simulation is such a useful one. We really love that. And getting a good simulation is great. It used to be you could do something with timers and lights to bring lights on and off in a sort of semi-random way. The more recent KNX servers, they do great things of being able to actually record the activity in the house when the house is occupied. So it's actually playing back lights going on and off as they've been switched on and off throughout a week, say. And then if you introduce motorized blinds or curtains into that as well, then you start getting a really convincing impression that the house is occupied, with blinds opening and closing by day and night, or whatever's been going on in the previous week, and actually playing back and giving the right impression that the house is not empty. So it's really clever. So we really like that. And there are lots of other little things we can do, like we quite often have window sensors and door sensors in the KNX environment. So the window sensors might be telling us, oh, the window's open, so we'll switch the heating off in that room because we don't want to be running the heating with the windows open. That wastes energy. But because they're KNX sensors, they can do multiple jobs. So they can be doing that. They can be telling the motorized blinds that they mustn't open if the window is open because the blind will get damaged. But it could also be saying, oh, right, the alarm's set, so the house is empty. The house is empty, so that window shouldn't be open. We need to send a push notification to the owner. So you can start getting really clever with it, and it's all very doable in a smart home.
Yeah, and really cool features. And I think people also decide to I mean, they're convinced by those features to actually buy KNX in the end, right? A lot of times. Yeah. Okay, let's take a closer look at security in the KNX environment. As I see it, basically you have two options here. So either you have a professional alarm system like we've been discussing up until now, or in cases where high level of security is not required, maybe you can just use the existing KNX sensors to build a kind of like, not DIY, but you know what I mean, security system. What do you prefer, and what is mostly used in real life projects?
Yeah, I think in real life projects we tend to recommend our customers to go with a specialist installed and designed alarm system for their home if they have any concerns at all that they want to be the concerns about burglaries and things like that. That said, there's so much that you can do within the KNX world to, like, window sensors, PIRs that are already in the specification for bringing on lights. They can be motion detectors for triggering if there's activity within the house, rather than duplicating having sensors from a security system and sensors in the KNX world. So there's lots we can do, but as an integrator, I think, or as integrators in general, I think we have to be careful not to take on the responsibility of a security system provider, because we're not that legally, or if we want to be that, we have to know that that's what we're doing, and it's different from just being a smart home integrator.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility, but basically, as I understand it, mostly there is a combination of a professional system and then some features which are enabled by the KNX sensors, right? Okay, so thanks for this answer, and let's first take a look at the first option, so the professional system connected to the KNX. And when I was doing system integration, which was like a couple of years ago, I had a lot of problems with the design of the elements of the professional security system. So, for example, like the sensors and the LCD keypads and so on, they are let's say, not really pretty looking devices which can actually ruin the interior design of your home. So my question is, do you encounter the same problem, and how do you solve that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a tricky one because if you're considering putting KNX or a smart home system together for your home, it's your dream home. There's going to be aesthetic and interior design thought going in there, and security system, keypads and sensors don't lend themselves to that at all. So we don't want to see them. They have to be there because they're part of the security system. So it's the only way we've found, to make the best of this is to sit down with the security specialist at the design stage and have conversations about, does the keypad have to be on display here, or could it be round the corner out of sight, or within a hall cupboard or something? Does it have to be right there when you come in the door to the house? And same goes for motion detectors and things. Can they be placed with a bit of consideration to the aesthetic of the property? They have to be there, but there's sometimes just a conversation about how best could we do this for considering how the house is going to look as well. A conversation at the outset sometimes makes all the difference.
But if I understand you, the solution is to hide them a little bit, right?
If we, just they don't have to be.
In your face, right?
I know exactly the situation you're describing, because if it's just left to the installers, they will put it in the easiest, most obvious place as far as the keypad is concerned, and that will be right in eye line and probably in conflict with switches and things that are already on the walls, which is what you try to avoid. Get rid of all the messy stuff off the wall, so you can simplify, keep things really nice and smart looking.
Okay, thanks. Let's briefly touch the wired versus wireless, because I saw that recently quite a lot of solutions appeared on the market which are either completely wireless or partly wireless, like maybe just the sensors. And do you think, what is your opinion about such systems? Do you think they are robust enough? Do you think they are stable enough? Would you recommend them to a customer of yours, for example?
I think I would always go down the approach that a wired system is going to be more robust and reliable than a wireless system. That applies across the board. That's very much a KNX viewpoint as well. KNX systems, it's a wired system.
We like wires.
Super robust because of that, exactly. If there's the opportunity to put the wires in at install stage, that's always going to be the most robust solution. And I think, again, I should say I'm not the expert for security systems, but I think the wired systems have a higher rating security-wise than the wireless systems. So where there's the opportunity to go wired, that's always the preferred approach.
If you can put in the wire, put in the wire.
Why
Don't
not?
ask yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's discuss the remote arm and disarm function. Now I know you said before that you don't try to disrupt the performance of the security system, but obviously this is a really cool feature to have. Like you're on the vacation and you want to let your mom in or whatever, and but I think, like, especially the disarm part can be a bit tricky, because if you enable the security system to be disarmed over the smartphone app, for example, this, in my opinion, lowers the security level of protection in your home. So what is your opinion? Is it okay to enable the remote disarm function, and can this lead to complications, for example, with the security company in case of an unwanted event? And what is your opinion regarding that?
Yeah, I think it's a slightly risky thing to do. I'm not sure that it's a real life security problem unless somebody was to get hold of your phone at the right time and get into the app and switch off. It's quite a convoluted sort of scenario that would have to happen. But as far as the security company and the insurers are concerned, I think you'd be in an awkward situation perhaps if there was a way that the alarm system could be disarmed remotely, potentially by someone who doesn't have the authority or doesn't know what's happening at the house at the time. That said, there are alarm systems that you can have installed now that have their own app and have arm and disarm functionality built in through their own app. But I think because you're going through the security system and through its own app, you're not going to run into the problems with insurance and invalidating insurance or the level of the alarm system being reduced because you've got this other system interfering with it.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for this answer. I was just thinking, like, maybe because you said it's like a difficult, improbable situation that somebody would take your phone and disarm the system, but maybe you can do it by accident, or maybe a kid can do it, or that's
yes, exactly. So that's definitely the argument against doing it. It's just it creates a risk. It creates a risk there, definitely.
Okay, so let's talk about what about when the alarm system is triggered. There's an unwanted event, either a burglary or a fire or whatever. You can have like different ways of notifying the user. So you can have like a siren or different kind of visual or audio alarm, like through the speakers, for example. You can have a silent alarm, like just notification to the user, or you can have a connection to the intervention call center, like a security company. And about this latter one, my question is, in your experience, what percentage of KNX users or your customers decide to be protected by a security company?
I think it's a small proportion, to be honest. The actual security response from a security company, we don't see a great deal of, but I think that's personal choice for the owner, whether they think that they need that level of security or response. I think a lot of alarm systems are installed as a deterrent as much as anything else, and then the actual real life functionality that you get from supplementing the security alarm system with functions from the KNX system is enough for the homeowner to be comfortable and to get the right sort of notifications at the right time through the KNX system.
Yeah, actually, it's the same thing in Slovenia, where I come from, but I checked also that in Scotland the burglary rates are not really high, like compared to some other countries, for example. Do you think, like in other countries where burglary rates are high, like England, for example, do you think the story is different, or? I mean, there's more users connected to the intervention center, or it's the same thing?
I think probably not. I think it's quite a specialist thing to have a call out. I might not be the expert on that, but I don't think there's a lot of alarm systems actually connected for call out other than maybe commercial properties, shops, offices, and things.
There is more
geared up with that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Let's move on. in your projects, in how many cases do you already have KNX motion or presence sensors installed throughout the house, and in which rooms? And another question, are the customers bothered? And we touched on that already before, but let's go into a little bit more detail. So are the customers bothered if they have two sensors, like one for lights, for example, and another one for security? And are they asking if they can do, like both function with a single sensor, and do enable that if it's requested?
Yeah, so we use motion detectors and PIRs quite a lot in hallways, rooms that have like a single entrance, like utility rooms and plant rooms will quite often use a PIR to bring on the lights. And then in bathrooms, quite often a little motion detector in the bathroom that will just bring on low-level kind of orientation lights at night, so you don't have to hunt for a light switch, and you don't bring on really bright lights if you get up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night, kind of thing. So we use PIRs in those rooms quite a lot. We were asked recently actually about using the PIRs from the KNX system to be the security system for a house, and it's appealing to say yes, we can do that. But we went back to our standpoint about the security system being installed and specified by a security specialist, and the KNX system can do more things and send alerts via push notifications or emails and things. But we'd still recommend, if you want a security system, go with the security specialist to put that in. It does mean that you could have two PIRs in a space, one for the security system and one for lights. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes if you go down that route. That said, the PIRs that you get from KNX PIRs, there are some really discrete ones that are very small and don't have a visual impact on the space at all. So we really try not to pepper the ceiling and the walls with sensors and controllers and things like that. So yeah, we're aware of the issue, but I think keeping the sensors nice and discreet helps with that.
And another thing here is, are the KNX sensors actually good enough? Because I know that in professional security you often have like double technology sensors, so you have the PIRs and you also have the microwave technology, which, for example, prevents your pets to trigger your security system. And can you enable the same level of protection, the same functionality, pet resistance, for example, with KNX sensors?
There are so many different devices because there are so many manufacturers in the KNX world. There are devices, all sorts of devices with lots of specific parameters that you can change and functionalities. I know that there are certainly passive infrared detectors, standard PIRs, that are configured as presence detectors or motion detectors, which there's a differentiation there. There are microwave sensors that you can have separately that specifically use microwave instead of infrared, so they will see through glass better. So for that scenario, and then there are really some of the new products that have come out. There's a device from Taban called Tepixa, and that's an amazing device. It's really clever. It uses a low resolution camera to detect movement and counts the number of people in the space. It can be zoned so that two people over there could trigger a function, or three people here could trigger a function, or it can count people for regulating the number of people in a space, all sorts of stuff. So although I don't have a specific answer about the security functionality KNX devices versus security devices, I'd be surprised if there wasn't a KNX product that at least met the spec of the security equivalent. It will probably far exceed what the security hardware is capable of.
Okay, thanks. That's really insightful. Let's move on to who is the person who suggests like which brand of alarm system or security system will be installed in the home, and furthermore, who decides on the micro locations of the sensors and all the security elements. So do you get like an electrical design project and then just follow that, or what is the case? What is the case here in your projects, for example?
In our projects, normally the way it works is there would be a main contractor who's responsible for appointing an electrician, appointing a security specialist, all the different trades and specialists and consultants. We then, so we don't get very much choice in who the security specialist would be, but we very much work to get a conversation and some communication with the security specialists, so that when they are doing their layouts and specification, we can chat to them about like we were talking about before, the positioning of keypads and sensors around to minimize the visual impact of all those things. But it's about getting the conversation at the right time to make sure that the design is being considered from a KNX angle as well as a basic install angle.
Okay, thanks for that. Which is your favorite security system and why? Do you have one?
I don't know if I have a favorite one. I think in the UK, the industry standard kind of alarm system that certainly gone in commonly in the past is Honeywell Galaxy. I think it's just like it's a good solid wired alarm system. But there's so many alarm systems now that you can there's a huge choice. There's a company based in Edinburgh now, actually, called Boundary Technologies, who have brought out sort of smart alarm systems that work with IoT to do some really clever stuff with wireless alarms. So I'm interested to see those systems going in as well. But I don't know if I've got a favorite.
Okay. I didn't know about that Scottish company. I'll check it out. So thanks for that. And okay, so what, in your view, are the most common mistakes or bad practices when it comes to integrating the security system with KNX?
I would say that there's a risk with integrating security systems with KNX that the security of the security system could be compromised, like we were talking about with having an app that can disarm the alarm through the KNX system would not be great. Something else that gets asked for in projects that would also compromise the security is a KNX switch or button in the house that can arm and disarm the alarm. Obviously, as soon as anyone is in the house, they could disarm the alarm at the press of a button if that's there. So that would be bad practice. So I'd be looking out for stuff like that. I think that's probably the most common one that I've heard asked for. That it would be a great thing for ease of use, but it's not secure.
Ease of use is not everything, especially in the security, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have any advice for integrators who are doing KNX integration with security systems? So what should they take care of, and yeah, when installing or programming the security system, or proposing the security system for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously, from what we've been talking about, there's lots that the KNX system can do to enhance the security for the homeowner. But I think it's important to know where you stand as an integrator in the world of security, and to be able to communicate that to your client, have a discussion with your client about whether they want or need a security system that will meet their insurance requirements, for instance, or whether they'd be actually much happier with something that would just send them alerts and do things from the KNX system. There's so many things that can be done there. It's a discussion that should be had to make sure that you're providing the right solution for your client, and not taking responsibility for things that you don't want to take responsibility for as an integrator.
Yeah, like you said before, you should know you're an integrator, not a security specialist, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Last question. I feel like, if you're talking about the security in KNX, it's also important to mention cybersecurity. Recently, I don't know if you've heard about it, there was this affair, the KNX lock affair, where basically, there were some cases when somebody got access to the building automation control over the internet and locked the owners out of it. And my question here is, how do you prepare yourself against various forms of cybercrime or cyber vandalism? And is it even possible to be prepared for such situations?
Yes, I think the cybersecurity issue has become a very real concern recently, where as you say, people have hacked into KNX systems and made changes without authorization. The most effective way to prevent it is an encrypted connection to the internet, so there's no way for anybody to hack in. I say no way. I'm sure the hackers will be there right away, trying to find a way to crack the next security solution. But the way systems used to be configured, you'd have a server that connects your KNX system to the internet, and you'd have a port forwarded open to the internet in your internet router. That's the security weak point in a KNX system. If you have an open port in your router that people can then connect into, once they've got your passwords, they can get in and they can program. So if you've got an encrypted connection, that means that you don't have to have open ports at all in your router, then that just locks out any attempts at hacking into the KNX system. So we tend to use a device called the Gira S1. Gira make this security device, and it means that you don't have to involve your home router at all in the connection process. It sets up an encrypted connection between the device that's connecting to the system and the KNX system itself. And you can't even set up a new connection if the device has to be set up within a time window, and once it's set up, that's all fine. For someone to create a new connection to that system, it has to be set up through the portal and through a process. So there's no easy way to hack into that. And then once you're in the KNX system, we've got KNX Secure now, so we can actually encrypt the messages that are being transmitted around the KNX bus. So the telegrams going around the KNX bus can actually be encrypted as well. So there's then no way for, even if somebody got into the KNX system, they can't start fiddling with the devices or anything that's happening in there.
So basically, the magic words here is encrypted connection. But let me just follow up on that KNX Secure. So do you always use that if the actuator, if the KNX device enables it? Do you always use the KNX Secure, or do you just use it for, I don't know, maybe some parts which are outside of the house, like a shed or so?
Yeah, we use it now when we can. To be honest, we haven't had any issues with security, with internet hacking, and I think it's a very low risk for most domestic projects, as long as you've got the encrypted connection. Then there's going to be easier things for hackers to go and play with than an encrypted connection into someone's home. And then, what would the benefit be for them to play with that? They'll go off and play with something else. But the KNX Secure is just another layer of security that makes it even better. And I think that'll be far more valuable and have far more real use in commercial projects and larger projects where the risk of somebody actually hacking in and
much higher,
being malicious is higher. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. So we've done it. Actually, no more questions from my side. So do you have anything to add for the end?
No, thank you very much for the chat. It's been really good, actually. But yes, if there are any questions from viewers, just please just reach out, add to the comments or email. That'd be great.
Okay, thanks, Nick. That's a wrap. Thank you, Nick, for shedding some light on security in KNX, and we'll be happy to receive any feedback on today's podcast. Plus, you can share your thoughts in the upcoming survey with the same topic. Welcome to follow our channels. If you missed any of the past episodes, feel free to check them out, and watch out for our next episode. Same one home time, same one home channel, and yeah, that's it. Peace out, people.